Dear ladies and gentlemen, distinguished shareholders, welcome to the annual general meeting of shareholders of Bekaert. After 2 years of very stringent COVID restrictions that prevented us all from personally attending the meeting, it's a real pleasure to hosting you live again and finding you all in good health. I also warmly welcome all shareholders who attend the meeting through the digital channel, which allows participation for those who cannot attend the meeting here in Kortrijk. Ladies and gentlemen, Bekaert moved to a new level of performance in 2021. We achieved strong sales and improved profitability across our businesses by driving the business mix improvements, footprint adjustments, and organizational efficiencies. Importantly, we progressed our strategic transformation to make Bekaert a stronger, more agile, and higher value-creating organization. The progress enabled us to respond successfully to customer demands by finding solutions to shortages of labor, materials, energy, and logistics in the past year. Oswald Schmidt, our CEO, and Taoufiq Boussaid, our CFO, will guide us through the financial highlights of 2021 and the trading update for the first quarter of this year. But before that, I want to share with you some recent important decisions and proposals made by the Board of Directors. First of all, the dividend. Based on the strong financial performance in 2021 and the confidence in the set direction, the board proposes a gross dividend of €1.50 per share, representing an increase of 50% versus the previous year. This proposal is subject to our approval at this meeting. Secondly, in support of longer-term shareholder value, the board has approved a share buyback program for Bekaert, which started March 18, 2022, to repurchase shares up to €120 million over a period up to 12 months and then to cancel them. A third measure recommended by the board and subject to approval by this meeting is the reduction of the number of directors from 13 to 11. In relation to this, the board is proposing to appoint Maxime Parmentier as director and reappoint Oswald Schmidt as director and Mei Ye as independent director. The proposal to appoint Maxime Parmentier as director and to reduce the number of directors on the board is primarily the consequence of the retirement of Charles de Liedekerk and Hubert Jacobs van Merlen, as well as Colin Smith. The contributions they have made to Bekaert deserve our sincere gratitude and recognition, and I will come back on this at the end of the meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, the start of this year brought new uncertainties with the tragic developments in Ukraine affecting the lives of innocent people and the global economic outlook. The war conflicts with our core values of human dignity, respect, and trust. When values are at stake, they always tend to become stronger. At Bekaert, we are united in condemning any act of violence and aggression against people. As a company, we are assisting meaningful humanitarian efforts through donations and by offering employment and accommodation to Ukrainian refugees. As for our business in Russia, we are phasing out the import and export activities with the country. We have stopped all new investment in our local production plant in Lipetsk, and we remain operational only in Lipetsk to support the livelihood of our employees and their families. We will continue to monitor the situation very closely and evaluate scenarios accordingly. At the same time, however, we need to look ahead and develop and strengthen our business. Our goal is to capture the opportunities by accelerating growth in attractive markets, both within and beyond our core technologies. In doing so, we aim to become a more complete solution provider to our customers. To achieve this and gain a competitive edge, we are increasing our resources in innovation and digitalization, as well as adding capabilities through partnerships and acquisitions. In addition, we have established an ambitious sustainability strategy with targets and action plans to accelerate our sustainability performance. We are convinced that our plans will continue to create significant value for all our stakeholders. The strong performance we delivered in 2021 and our determination to further enhance value growth and target markets make us confident to achieve our short and midterm targets. Let me now move on to the rest of today's agenda. Oswald Schmidt, our CEO, and Tawfiq Boussaid, our CFO, will now present the 2021 result and the trading update for the first quarter this year. After this address, we will move on to the official part of the annual general meeting, where we will invite you to vote on the agenda items. Dear shareholders, on behalf of Bekaert's Board of Directors and the leadership team and of our global organization, I would like to thank you for your continued support and trust in these extraordinary times, as well as for your confidence in our future. Thank you very much. And Oswald, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jürgen. Ladies and gentlemen, dear shareholders, good morning. Looking back at 21, I think we can conclude this was a year of a very successful delivery, the best year ever on many of the key financial performance indicators. And these results did not come by coincidence. They were in total the outcome of the focus and the effort of our people around the globe and the close collaboration with our business partners, customers, and suppliers, especially valuable in times given the complex and quite volatile context in which we are operating. And I want to express words of thanks to all of them for that engagement, cooperation, and where it was a true illustration of how working is better together. But I also would like to thank you, our shareholders, for your continued trust and investment which allows us to run, improve, and grow our business. Let me start the review of 21 by sharing the progress we have made on one of our top priorities. It's health and safety. Our efforts support the health and well-being of our employees, in particular given the COVID-19 challenges that impact our people still today. And a special thank you to our teams in the plants who have been at the front line throughout the pandemic and despite everything ensured continuity of supply to our customers. We have paid particular attention to reduce the impact on our people with protective measures, work streams, new ways of working, and our global vaccination campaigns. And in terms of safety, thanks to the consistent efforts, the number of safety incidents has further decreased at an all-time low. But however, our firm objective remains to reach zero safety accidents, as our policy is no harm to anyone. And we continue to invest in equipment and training to deliver on this. What was the environment in 21? And I think all of us know it has been one of major challenges. Supply chain interruptions, COVID-19 pandemic, energy hikes and other cost inflations, labor scarcity, and further, we all know geopolitical events. But our focus and execution paid off. Commercial excellence, being close to the customers, serving them well, operational excellence, productivity improvements around our global footprint, organizational efficiency combined with capability building, continuing the pricing discipline, make sure that our margin performance is right, continued effective control on costs and working capital, and further driving digitalization, sustainability, and innovation. This strong execution led to a significant step up in performance. After a period of stagnation and a drop in 2020 due to the pandemic, sales increased to 4.8 billion euros, the highest level in the history of Bekaert. The underlying EBIT margin more than doubled versus 2018 and reached 10.6% after 3 consecutive years of steady improvement. Return on capital employed reached 23.7%, about doubling the result of the previous year and tripling the result of 2018. This is the outcome of a strategic direction over the past 3 years, with the focus on profit restoration, balance sheet improvement, leadership and value creation. You will see later on our strategic pillars for perform, transform and growth, and exploring our opportunities in creativity beyond steel. 21 results in a summary. Looking at the 5 key financial performance indicators, strong sales growth, 28% up from 2020 and above of 2019, which is in many cases a reference year. Underlying EBIT of 10.6%, 3.4 percentage points up from 2020 and 5 percentage points up from pre-COVID year 2019. ROCE, as said already, a very strong improvement to 23.7, a multiple versus the previous years. Earning per share rose to 70.14, tripling the 2020 results and a tenfold of the result of 2019. Net debt reduction by 187 million euros versus 2020 and 560 million versus 2019, leading of course to a very low leverage of 0.61. One of the main strengths of Bekaert that enable us to step in our performance in 21 is the balanced spread of the company across regions and sectors with an international team of more than 27,000 people across the world, serving, as mentioned before, our customers in very special times and environment. When we have a quick look on the regional breakdown of the combined sales, we see LATAM is leading with 34%, followed by Europe and EMEA with 28%, Asia Pacific 26%, and North America with 12%. And have a quick look on the sectoral breakdown of combined sales. You know, the tire and automotive was leading with 44%, followed by construction, basic materials, agriculture, energy and utilities, equipment, and finally consumer goods. We were driving our acceleration in the transformation regarding digital innovation and sustainability. Let me start with digital. We are increasingly becoming a data-driven company. 2 examples. We have installed smart manufacturing tools in 6 additional plants in 21, and we have dedicated e-portals for customers in 3 key markets across several business units to be closer to the customer. In sustainability, we have set targets in line with the Science Based Targets initiative, and we have submitted those to the SBTi last year and are implementing actions to reach our high ambitions. They are of the installation, because we therefore invested in the production and use of green energy and hence are part of the energy transition. One example is the installation of a solar farm in our Spanish plant in Burgos. Internally, we also work on reducing our energy consumption through investments and through a project which is called You Know What, and we launched also last year, and we show significant progress to reduce our energy consumption there. Innovation, we make progress in our target markets and have the ambition to become a market maker with digital and sustainable solutions, including cable mooring or mooring solutions for offshore wind farms, hydrogen electrolyzer technologies, and digital service offering like we have with Vision Tech, an optical measurement technology to monitor ropes in action. And now I would like to hand over to our CFO, Taoufik, who will guide us through the financial results of 21.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear shareholder, good morning. 2021 was definitely a landmark in our financial performance, characterized by very strong performance in many of our financial KPIs. And starting with the sales, we have reached a consolidated sales level of 4.8 billion euros, while the combined sales was just short of 6 billion, which is representing a significant growth expansion versus 2020 of respectively 28% and 32% in combined sense. It's a very strong performance, which has been delivered and crystallized on the back of three main catalysts. The first one has to do with the very strong pricing management and discipline that we have implemented in the company. And this has allowed us to be very efficient in the way we are passing through the impacts coming from the wire rod price changes in a context where we had significant cost push inflation effects. The second driver and catalyst has to do with our continued effort to further optimize our portfolio segmentation and capitalize on the benefits that it brings for the business overall. So this has delivered incremental growth expansion to our top line on the back of improved pricing and mix. These two effects combined have contributed to a sales expansion of roughly 19% of our top line. Last but not least, compared to 2020, which was somehow depressed because of the COVID crisis, we have also benefited from a volume expansion, and this organic volume expansion have contributed to an additional 9% increase of our top line. Looking at this performance by business unit and by segment, and starting with the rubber reinforcement. In rubber reinforcement, we have reported a growth of 27% on a full year basis. It was primarily driven on the back of a strong pricing discipline and further mix optimizations across many areas of the business. The combined impact of these two levers have allowed us to deliver an 18% incremental top line for RR, and the volume has also contributed for an additional 19%. Looking at this performance by geography, we saw a significant improvement and increases of our sales across all regions, with growth ranges ranging from 50% in Southeast Asia, 40% in EMEA and North America, and 12% in China. Volume-wise, we saw a similar pattern, with the exception of China, where volumes have contracted by roughly 5%. This was mainly due to the softer domestic markets and lower export sales of the tire markets out of China on the back of the significant constraints in the logistic systems, the shortages of containers, but also the increasing freight cost. Despite these adverse factors in China, the margins have been very well managed in a context as well where we had to deal with a strong competition and as well overcapacity in the markets. Moving to steel wire solutions, there as well we have reported a very strong sales expansion of 37%, as well on the back of a very strong performance in pricing and mix, and the pass-on wire rod prices, which combined have contributed for 28% of the top line expansion, to which we have added another volume growth driven expansion of 9%. By regions, the volumes have been very strong in Latin America. They have literally surged, and we have recorded an expansion of the top line thanks to Latin America of 19%. It grew as well significantly in EMEA, where we have reported a top line expansion of 9%. In North America, however, we had to deal with the contraction of the volumes by roughly 10%, mainly as a result of some raw material shortages. By application, the demand has remained very strong in agriculture, utilities, and construction. Automotive was kind of sluggish in 2020 because of all the disruptions resulting from the COVID, but it had recovered compared to that levels. And we do see the business continuing to benefit from the global trade tensions that many geographies are suffering from. And to name a few, it's mainly related to some tax barriers that we see in some countries, in China, in Russia, for instance, but also some of the adverse factors I have referred to in terms of high cost of transportation and so on. The business in Steel Wire Solution is a global business, and this global footprint has been a very strong asset for the company. Moving to our specialty business, there is well a very strong increase in 2021 of 22%, and a strong momentum across the three segments within the business unit. In building products, we saw a strong demand, primarily in Europe, and a strong boost coming out of the price and mix impacts. This has been translated into a sales expansion of roughly 25%. In fiber technologies, we have achieved as well a very strong growth of 25% on the back of the business performance in Asia and the very strong demand and momentum that we see in high-end filtration and hydrogen markets in general. Last but not least, in BBRG, they have delivered a very strong sales increase of roughly 13%, primarily driven by volume, which has contributed up to 10% in both the ropes business and the advanced cord segments. The order book for the business was very strong, and during 2021, it has increased by almost 96%, which is giving us a very good outlook for the future. And this strong order book intake has been managed on the back of very big projects which have been booked. By application, we saw strong demand in crane and industrial markets. We did see a recovery in the US on the oil and gas activities, while the fishing and marine applications have remained very resilient. The advanced cord business has suffered from a decreased sales in the automotive markets, which has been to some extent compensated from the elevator and the timing belt markets. Now, moving to some KPIs of our income statement. As you can see, we had a massive boost delivered in terms of gross profit, where we have delivered 304 million euro, which is corresponding to an expansion of more than 50% versus last year. In relative terms, the underlying gross profit margin on sales has been improved by 280 basis points to 18.7%, a significant increase versus 2020 levels, where it stood at 15.9%, and as well versus 2019 level, which was kind of a more normalized year, where it stood at 13.6%. The underlying EBIT as well expanded by 243 million euros, allowing us to deliver a margin on sales of 10.6%, a strong increase versus the previous year performance, which stood at 7.2%. The combined effects of the volume, the valuation, the strong pricing discipline, and the contribution of our smarter product segmentation has led to this significant improvement of our performance. In terms of cost, the overhead increase in absolute terms due to the phase-out of the COVID measures that we benefited from in 2020 has somehow triggered an impact overall on the cost. We have also spent and invested more in research and development capabilities, but given the very significant boost that we have generated in terms of sales, the percentage or the relative measurement of the overhead has decreased versus previous years. Nothing major to mention on the one-offs compared to some of the reporting on the specific KPIs in the previous years. We had a minimal charge of 2 million euros, which was related to some tactical restructuring expenses. On the result after tax for the period, we have reported 343 million euros. That's 230 million euro increase versus last year, significant performance, which has also been further crystallized by the good performance that we have been able to secure in terms of our effective tax rate, which, unlike previous year, has reached a record low level and stood at 28%, mainly on the back of some utilization of some old losses that we have in our book. The share in the results of joint ventures and associated companies has also more than tripled to 108 million euros. And we did see the similar trend with a very good performance coming out of the result for the period attributable to the shareholders of Bekaert, where the improvement allowed us to deliver 407 million euros, up from 135 million euros in the previous year. Now, very quickly, moving to the balance sheet, that was one of the key focus area for our management in the company for the last 2-3 years. We have delivered, again, a record low level of working capital on the back of very disciplined processes, measurement, and actions to make sure that we fully optimize the use of our resources standing in our balance sheet. And with that, we have been able to deliver a net working capital as a ratio of sales at 12.6%, significantly down from the level where it stood in 2020 at 16.4%. In absolute term, we do report an increase of the working capital of 143 million euros versus 2020, out of which 103 million euros is organic, the balance being primarily related to some currency translation effects. The net debt, as a result, has significantly decreased. It stood at the end of 2021 at 417 million euros. That's a significant decrease of 187 million euros versus the close of 2020, where it stood at more than 600 million euros. And this is allowing us to report in 2021 a record low net debt level on EBITDA at 0.6 as a ratio. This is less than half of the result posted in 2020. Cash and cash equivalent at the end of the period have amounted to 677 million euros versus 940 million euros posted at the end of 2020, but this was after the reimbursement of a convertible bond that we have contracted and that was repaid in June 2021. On the back of this very strong performance, we have also decided to launch a share buyback program, which has been initiated during the first quarter. The first tranche has been completed on the 4th of May. It was initially aimed at buying back 30 million euros worth of shares. We have completed this first tranche with a volume of shares acquired of 27.3 million euros. We didn't completely reach the initially intended 30 million euros because we had less days since we started only mid-March, but we're hopeful that we should be able to complete the full program at 120 million for the balance of the year. So today we are relaunching the second tranche of this program, which is also amounting to 30 million euros, with the completion date for this first tranche expected on the 22nd of July, and the cancellation of the repurchased shares will take place in June and December of 2022. With this, I hand it back to our CEO, Oswald Schmidt.
Ladies and gentlemen, as all we experienced by ourselves, this volatile environment continues in 22. In addition, there's the Russia-Ukraine conflict. There's the global shortage of material, labor, and logistics continuing. Inflation is across all our input costs, energy hikes, stringent COVID measures in lockdowns in China, and the continued globalization trends we see. And this translates, of course, in challenges for us. Challenges in China, for example, with subdued demand caused by stringent, mentioned before, COVID-19 measures. And what we also see, of course, the supply chain constraint to continue. When you have seen once a picture what's waiting in Shanghai to be unloaded container ships, it's really amazing. And there's further constraints what we see in the automotive OEM markets. And the volatility in construction infrastructure, especially in Latin America, we can also experience. But on the other side, there are a lot of opportunities. There's a very positive side. As we are very well positioned to leverage benefits from our global footprint and local services, and sourcing channels, we see a very strong demand in the tire markets in EMEA and in North America, a very solid energy and utility market. We see a robust growth in low-carbon concrete reinforcement solutions, in filtration further, in equipment and combustion applications. And when we look on BBRG, we have an order book so strong never has been before. So we, of course, would like to capture all these benefits we can see as opportunities in the market. Let's have a look on the first quarter on the consolidated sales base. The first quarter has seen a 23% growth on consolidated sales, of which 19% is driven by organic growth. We achieved growth across all our 4 business units, plus 8% in rubber, 29% in the steel wire solution, 83% in specialty business, and 7% in BBRG. There's a note to make. The growth in variance a bit impacted by the move of the hose wire conveyor belt business from rubber reinforcement to specialty business, since we did this in the 1st of January 2022, and excluding this effect, rubber reinforcement shows a sales growth of 14% and not 8%, and the specialty business of growth of 44% and not 83% in this way. The growth came from improved business mix and passed on cost inflation on lower volumes across several business activities we have seen. 22, what are the focus areas? And we continue to perform on our strategic parts as perform, transfer, and growth. And I will just look on the 22 we would like to focus, because we continue what we have started in 21. We look the proximity to our customers, to be close to them. We need to further look on the agility of the supply chain management. Safety and well-being for our employees is one of the most top priorities, as mentioned before, and as also mentioned before by Taoufik, pricing discipline to keep the margin all right is also the focus area. On the transform part, it's really what you have seen. The energy transition is also taking into Bekaert. We're looking for customer portals and e-commerce solutions. For our customers, we provide lighter, smarter, and greener and sustainable solutions, and we think beyond steel by looking at synthetic applications and service solutions. The growth part is about to look on our business portfolio mix and improve. It's about reinforcing our position in construction, mooring, in e-mobility smart solutions, and stepping up in hydrogen partnership and developments. Now coming to the outlook, while the 2022 outlook remains, of course, to the environment I've described before, particularly volatile, we project that the current organic revenue run rate to continue throughout the year. Profitability ambitions for the medium term from 22 to 26 to remain unchanged. And this in spite to the overall increased uncertainty and high cost inflation we are seeing. Allow me to summarize at the end. Strong performance in 21, despite this challenging environment described, record sales and EPS, solid margin growth and strong deleveraging, focus on deploying our perform, transform and growth strategy, looking significant progress on our smart, sustainable and innovative ambition, and the Q1 22 sales plus 23%, last year strong sales. Challenging volatile environment continues in 22, but the outlook remain revenue run rate to continue, profitability ambition to the midterm remains unchanged. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Oswald, and also thanks to Vic for these explanations and the excellent performance. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the official part of our general meeting, and we will first appoint the Bureau. The Bureau of this general meeting includes, in addition to me, as Chairman of the Board, Oswald Schmidt, our Chief Executive Officer, as well as the directors present, namely Gregory Dahl, Charles de Liedekerk, Henriette Fenger-Ellekrog, Christoph Jacobs van Meulen, Hubert Jacobs van Meulen, Erika Söderström, Caroline Storm, Emile van der Waal de Gelk, and Henri-Jean Welch and Mei Jie. We are also pleased to welcome Marnix van Doren and Francis Beulens, who represent our statutory auditor, E&Y Bedrijfsrevisoren. We now move on to the appointment of a secretary for our meeting. I am entrusting this task to Isabel van der Wekens, our company secretary. We also need to appoint 2 members of the meetings as scrutineers. I nominate Isabel van der Wekens and Michel van Hove as scrutineers. Does the meeting agree? I request the scrutineers to inspect the attendance list. The attendance list is hereby closed. In accordance with the Articles of Association and the Code of Companies and Association, the notice of this annual general meeting, together with the agenda, were published in the Belgium Official Journal on 8th of April 2022, in the Tade on 8th of April 2022, and in media throughout the European Economic Area through Intrado Digital Media, a service provider for media distribution, on April 8, 2022. I request the scrutineers to initial the specimen copies of those publications. A written notice to this general meeting was sent on April 8, 2022, to the holders of registered shares, the holders of subscription rights, the members of the board, and the statutory auditor. The notice convening this general meeting and the other information required by law have also been published on the Bekaert websites since April 8, 2022. Shareholders had the right to submit written questions to the board of directors and/or the statutory auditor by notifying such questions to the company no later than Thursday, the 5th of May, 2022. None of them made use of the right to ask written questions. Shareholders who are attending the meeting virtually may ask questions during the meeting through the Lumi platform. The questions will be answered during the formal deliberations of the first 5 agenda items. At that time, the shareholders who attend the meeting here in Kortrijk will also be given the opportunity to ask questions. All questions should relate to items on the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears from the attendance list that the shareholder present or represented hold 35,720,389 shares out of a total of 60,452,261 shares issued by the company. This would be 62.86% shares at this general meeting. There are no holders of subscription rights, nor holders of convertible debenture present. Each share carries 1 vote. I note that the meeting is validly constituted and can deliberate and resolve on the various items on the agenda. From now on, shareholders who are attending the meeting and who have not given a proxy can vote on the various agenda items until when the last agenda items will have been dealt with. If you attend the meeting in person in the meeting room here, then you can vote using the electronic voting box. Instructions will be displayed on the device screen. If you attend the meeting virtually, you can vote online. The voting tool will be accessible through the navigation bar on your screen. The voting results will be announced at the end of the general meeting. Before moving on to the agenda, I would like to point out that for a few agenda items, we have been informed of a certain number of votes against or abstentions, mainly due to institutional investors. The reason for this voting behavior is generally to be found in the rules which these investors are subject to. So, ladies and gentlemen, the first 5 items on the agenda are as follows. First, the annual report of the Board of Directors. Second, the report of the statutory auditor. Third, the approval of the annual accounts. Fourth, the discharge to the directors and the statutory auditor. And fifth, the approval of the remuneration report. The consolidated annual report and the consolidated annual accounts, including the annual report and annual accounts of NV Bekaert SA in condensed form, and the remuneration report were sent to the holders of registered shares on April 8, 2022, and have also been published on the Bekaert websites since the 25th of March 2022. The full annual report, annual accounts, and report of the statutory auditor of NV Bekaert SA have been published on the Bekaert website since the 8th of April 2022. I am therefore assuming that the meeting waives the reading of these documents. On May 5th, 2022, the Works Councils of the sites of NV Bekaert SA were jointly informed of the position and development of the company during the past financial year. They were also informed of the company's objectives and strategy. The general meeting is notified of the report of that meeting. I request the company secretary to read the report.
Op een gezamenlijke vergadering van de ondernemingsraden van de NV Bekaert SA, DBZ, Zwevegem en Ingelmunster, gehouden op 5 mei 2022, in een speciale zitting werden de jaarrekeningen over het boekjaar 2021 meegedeeld. Voor eerst werd een toelichting verstrekt over de opdrachten en de activiteiten van de commissaris. Vervolgens werd ingegaan op de internationale economische omgeving waarin Bekaert opereert, met nadruk op de evoluties in de meest belangrijke afzetmarkten. Er werd toelichting gegeven over de implementatie van de Bekaert-strategie en de acties die werden ondernomen en worden ondernomen om beter te presteren, als ook op de notering en evolutie van het Bekaert-aandeel. Daarop volgde een gedetailleerde informatieverstrekking over de jaarrekeningen 2021 van de Bekaert-groep, van NV Bekaert SA, van Bekaert Coördinatiecentrum en van Scheldestroom NV.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we now proceed to deliberate on the annual report of the Board of Directors, the report of the statutory auditor, the annual accounts, the discharge to the directors and the statutory auditor, and the remuneration report. There will now be a short break so we can check if any questions were asked online during the meeting. In order to allow us to review if we have received questions via the Lumi platform, we will first show a short video that illustrates Bekaert's increasing presence in green energy technologies. So let's turn to the video.
The world's demand for clean energy is on the rise, but the only way to be able to supply it is to act now. With years of experience and many existing solutions developed with our customers, Bekaert already plays an important role in this energy transition. We can leverage our oceans to harvest clean energy on the scale we need. The energy produced is then transported to onshore users. It can also be converted into green hydrogen for industries or longer duration storage of clean energy. By helping the industry, businesses, homes, and new ways of transportation to access the clean energy they need, we contribute to building a sustainable world for generations to come. Creating a better tomorrow. To learn more, visit Bekaert.com. bekaert.com/clean-energy.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Boas, were any questions asked during the meeting via the Lumi platform? We have received no questions, okay. So, are there any questions here in the meeting room? In case you have a question, you are kindly requested to identify yourself first. All questions relate to the items on the agenda. Let's see if there's any questions in the room. I see no hands or anybody asking to address us, so thank you. The deliberations are now closed. I propose to go through all the items on the agenda now. The voting results will be announced afterwards. So starting with agenda item 1, the annual report of the Board of Directors on the financial years 2021. Apart from the remuneration reports, such annual report does not call for a resolution. Agenda item 2, the report of the statutory auditor on the financial year 2021. Such report does not call for a resolution. Agenda item 3, I request the general meeting to approve the proposed annual accounts for the financial year 2021, consisting of the balance sheet, income statement, and notes, and the proposed appropriation of the results. The profit of NV Bekaert SA for financial year 2021 amounts to 138,942,685 euros, compared to a loss of 86,889,620 euros in 2020. We propose to the general meeting that the results be appropriated as follows. Transfer to statutory reserves 13,000 euros. Transfers to other reserves 52,466,652 euros. And profit for distribution as gross dividend 86,463,033 euros. The gross dividend thereby amounts to €1.50 per share. When this proposal is approved, the net dividend will be payable from May 16, 2022. Let's move on to agenda item 4. 4.1. I request the general meeting to discharge the members of the Board of Directors for the performance of their duties in 2021. And 4.2. And I request the meeting to discharge the statutory auditor for the performance of his duties in 2021. Agenda item 5. I request the general meeting to approve the remuneration report on the financial year 2021. Agenda item 6. We request the general meeting to approve the reduction of the number of directors from 13 to 11. Agenda item 7. The term of office of the directors Charles de Liederkirk, Hubert Jacobs van Melen, Oswald Schmidt,
and Colin Smith.
and Colin Smith. Any of the...
Yeah.
Sorry?
That's okay, go ahead.
Okay. And Colin Smith and Oswald Schmidt and the independent directors May J expires today. Charles de Liederkirk and Hubert Jacobs van Melen, having served on the board during 9 and 6 terms respectively, retire in line with the retirement age for directors as applied by the company. Colin Smith has decided to retire and does not seek reappointment. The board of directors is grateful, very grateful to Charles de Liederkirk and Hubert Jacobs van Melen and Colin Smith for their substantial contribution as directors of the company. The board of directors proposes Maxime Parmentier for appointment and Oswald Schmidt and Meiji for reappointment. We vote on each appointment separately. So 7.1 is the election of Mr. Maxime Parmentier. The board of directors are very pleased to nominate him as director. Maxime is 39 years old, holds the Belgian nationality, and lives in London. He is the founder and CEO of Birdie Care Services, a London-based health technology scale-up. Maxime started his career with McKinsey & Company in 2008 as a consultant, working across Europe, the US, Middle East, and Africa. He then joined Reactor in 2012 as project manager. In 2013, he moved to the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Appointed as chief of staff to the CFO, he subsequently became head of sourcing strategy and supply chain, and then founder and CEO of Vambo, the world's largest global health e-marketplace. Before establishing Birdie in 2017, Maxime was resident entrepreneur and venture lead of Comet Ventures, the startup studio of global insurance group AXA. Maxime Parmentier holds 3 master degrees and sits on the board of various startup and investment syndicates. Upon your approval, Maxime will bring a wealth of complementary expertise to our board here at Bekaert. With his international track record, his digital technologies, corporate venturing, and sustainability expertise. We propose to appoint Maxime Parmentier as director for a term of 1 year, up to and including the annual general meeting of 2023. Let me move to point 7.2. The board of directors also proposed to reappoint Oswald Schmidt as director for a term of 1 year, up to and including the annual general meeting to be held 2023. And point 7.3, the board of directors finally proposes to reappoint Meiji as independent director for a term of 1 year, up to and including the annual general meeting to be held in 2023. It appears from the information available to the company and from information provided by Meiji that she satisfied the applicable requirements with respect to independence. As required by law, the proposal for reappointment of May as independent director was communicated to the Works Council of NV Bekaert SA. Let me move to agenda item 8. The board of directors proposes to set the remuneration of each non-executive director other than the chairman for the performance of the duties as a member of the board of directors during the financial year 2022 at 70,000 euros. Each director has the options to receive part thereof in company shares up to 50% after settlement of taxes. The board of directors further proposes to set the remuneration of each non-executive director, other than the chairman, for the performance of the duties as a member or chairperson of a committee of the board during the financial year 2022 at 20,000 euros. And to pay an additional fixed amount of 5,000 euros to the chairpersons of the Audit, Risk and Finance Committee. 8.3, the board finally proposes that the chief executive officer does not receive remuneration for his mandate as a director, without prejudice to remuneration in his capacity as an executive manager. Let's move on to agenda item 9. The board of directors proposes to the general meeting that the remuneration of the statutory auditor is increased from 88,000 euros to 94,800 euros for the audit of the annual accounts for the financial year 2021, and from 236,000 euros to 269,000 euros for the audit of the consolidated annual accounts for the financial year 2021. All amounts are exclusive of VAT tax. Let's go to agenda item 10. In accordance with the Code of Companies and Associations, the Board of Directors has prepared and communicated to the General Meeting the consolidated annual accounts for the financial year 2021 of the Bekaert Group. These consolidated annual accounts include the balance sheet, the income statement, and the related notes. The financial year 2021 closed with a group profit of 407 million euros, compared to a group profit of 135 million euros in 2020. These elements are fully reported in the annual report. This communication does not call for a resolution. So let me conclude that all agenda items have now been covered, and we will announce the voting result in a moment. So we'll play some music, and then our company secretary will announce the results of the votes. Okay, that's the voting results are available. So, Mrs. van der Wekens, could you please announce the voting results?
Yes, Chairman. When I see the results, I will start.
Okay. So, can we ask you to show the result on the screen? Thank you.
I'll proceed in Dutch. Agendapunt nummer 3. De Algemene Vergadering keurt het voorstel van jaarrekening over het boekjaar 2021 goed, inclusief het voorstel tot bestemming van het resultaat, met 35.679.407 voorstemmen. Er zijn geen tegenstemmen en er zijn 37.627 onthoudingen. Agendapunt nummer 4.1. De Algemene Vergadering verleent kwijting aan de bestuurders voor de uitoefening van een opdracht gedurende het boekjaar 2021 met 32.615.171 voorstemmen. Er zijn 2.955.636 tegenstemmingen en 139.820 onthoudingen. Agendapunt 4.2. De Algemene Vergadering verleent kwijting aan de commissaris voor de uitoefening van zijn opdracht gedurende het boekjaar 2021 met 35.629.732 voorstemmen. Er zijn 5.289 tegenstemmen en 75.516 onthoudingen. Agendapunt 5. De Algemene Vergadering keurt het remuneratieverslag goed met 34.088.609 voorstemmen. Er zijn 1.621.688 tegenstemmen en 230 onthoudingen. Agendapunt 6. De Algemene Vergadering verlaagt het aantal bestuurders van 13 naar 11 met 35.705.008 voorstemmen. Er zijn 5.389 tegenstemmen en 130 onthoudingen. Agendapunt 7.1. De Algemene Vergadering besluit Maxime Parmentier als bestuurder te benoemen voor een periode van 1 jaar tot en met de gewone Algemene Vergadering in 2023 met 24.950 voorstemmen. Er zijn 10.914.000 796.477 tegenstemmen en geen onthoudingen. Agenda punt 7.2. De Algemene Vergadering besluit Oswald Schmid als bestuurder te herbenoemen voor een periode van 1 jaar tot en met de gewone Algemene Vergadering van 2023 met 34.929.422 voorstemmen. Er zijn 780.260 tegenstemmingen en geen onthoudingen. Agenda punt 7.3. De Algemene Vergadering besluit mevrouw Meijer als onafhankelijk bestuurder te herbenoemen voor een periode van 1 jaar tot en met de gewone Algemene Vergadering van 2023 met 35.645.944 voorstemmen. Er zijn 63.738 tegenstemmen en geen onthoudingen. Agenda punt 8.1. De Algemene Vergadering keurt het voorstel goed inzake de vergoeding van de niet-uitvoerende bestuurders als lid van de Raad van Bestuur met 35.668.588 voorstemmen. Er zijn 40.864 tegenstemmen en 230 onthoudingen. Agenda punt 8.2. De Algemene Vergadering keurt het voorstel goed inzake de vergoeding van de niet-uitvoerende bestuurders als lid of voorzitter van een comité van de Raad van Bestuur met 35.668.588 voorstemmen. Er zijn 40.864 tegenstemmen en 230 onthoudingen. Agenda punt 8.3. De Algemene Vergadering keurt het voorstel goed inzake de vergoeding van de gedelegeerd bestuurder voor zijn opdracht als bestuurder met 35.707.775 voorstemmen. Er zijn 1777 tegenstemmen en 130 onthoudingen. En dan tot slot, agenda punt 9. De Algemene Vergadering keurt het voorstel goed inzake de vergoeding van de commissaris met 35.688.281 voorstemmen. Er zijn 21.392 tegenstemmen en 9 onthoudingen.
So thank you very much for sharing all the results with us from the voting. So ladies and gentlemen, the annual general meeting of shareholders is now officially closed. I ask the meeting to exempt us from reading the minutes. Thank you for your understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, dear shareholders, once again, thank you for your continuous trust and support, which are indispensable in building the future success of Bekaert. Allow me to also stress the contribution of our retiring board members in realizing the past and current success of Bekaert. Colin Smith, retiring today after a full term of 4 years on the board of Bekaert, could unfortunately not be present here today. But I hereby had the great pleasure to invite 2 other retiring board members on stage. Hubert and Charles, could you please join me? We are extremely grateful to the contributions you have delivered to the companies, and I would like to extend a big thank you. And we have prepared some small gifts for you. Okay. So, can you please come? Oh, okay. So, thank you very much. So this is a little bit. I'll start with you, Hubert. Thank you so much. 6 terms, and it's been a pleasure. We'll miss you.
Thank you very much.
You are a record setter with 9 terms. And all of you, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
So nice flowers.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh.
Why don't you get in the
I'll
middle?
come in the middle. Thank you. All right, thank you both. I just want to mention that they have been extremely serving and very loyal through all these years. I think Charles has served 9 terms and Hubert 6 terms as director. So an unbelievable commitment and dedication to the company, which we owe you a great thank you. So thank you again. All right. Moreover, I want to mention a very special anniversary. Oh, well, first, before we have the very special anniversary, we have to look at some of the important dates coming up. So you have, as I mentioned before, there will be a dividend that is paid on the 16th of May. Yeah. And our half-year results will be published the 29th. No, that cannot be right. July, yeah, in English is better. Yeah. So our half-year results will be published actually 29th of July, 22. But now I have a special anniversary I like to announce concerning our Bekaert shares, because this year it's exactly 50 years ago that Bekaert was first quoted on the Brussels Stock Exchange. Up on the first quotation 50 years ago in 72, the shares were sold in little over 2 minutes. You can see here the rush of buyers, and I think there are some board directors or members of the board here on the picture as well. You might look carefully enough and recognize 1 or 2. But this was 50 years ago, an historic day for the company and for Bekaert when we were first quoted, and the success was immediate. So let's, this 50-year anniversary, add to the success of Bekaert and to the value that the company can create for shareholders. And thank you very much. I now invite the members of the board of directors and the company secretary, as well as the shareholders present who wish to sign the minutes of this meeting. Thank you again for participating in our annual general meeting. I wish you a very nice day, and I invite you who are attending the meeting here in Kortrijk to the reception and look forward to meeting you there. So thank you.
Thank you.